Welcome, this is Nathan, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are continuing to take a look at a scenario where civilization restarts. I believe we are on episode 30. When I was going through the videos, I think I said episode 30 last episode. Last episode was episode 29. I don't know, I'm all over the place with this series. I don't know what episode we're on. So it's either episode 30 or 31. I don't know when I upload this video, but in the last video, we saw the development of the nuclear bomb by the Pink Team. And they were no shorter to test this thing out. They tested it on the Orange Team, who eventually united with two countries down here, and we saw the unification of a new country called Russia. We'll go into that in a minute. But anyway, and we also saw some other events. I don't really actually remember what the events were. But we're going to begin with the Pink Team. Because the world is not favouring them anymore. They were one of the main faces of the Coalition of Freedom. And the world doesn't think they were in that coalition to help free the world. In fact, they were not in, I'll say now, the Pink Team was not in that coalition to free the world. They were in that coalition to get land from the Red Team. Basically, revenge for episode 17. And, the Lion Team and Central Asian Union, they know what the Pink Team's done. I mean, they committed literally a war crime in our modern world. And these two, the Lion Team and the Central Asian Union, they're not nuclear powers like the Pink Team's gonna become, but they decide that to keep themselves safe, they decided to keep themselves safe, they're gonna try and add some more members to the Triangle Alliance. Now, obviously in this we have Russia, we have the Lion Team and the Central Asian Union, but we have the Turquoise Team joining up with these guys. If you ever, the Turquoise Team was, they were part of the Coalition of Freedom to take down the Red Team. And they're very open to join this, and in fact, the Turquoise Team's very anti-nuclear. Same with Central Asian Union. The Lion Team, they're not really all that, and I don't know, they're kind of weird. They don't like the idea of the Pink Team having nukes, but they're also not against nukes as a whole. Anyway, we're going to come down to Africa, because this huge thing by here is going to be breaking apart. If you remember, they were a huge country that united down here, but they will now be breaking apart. So, let's see how they do it. So to begin with, we see the release of a huge Mozambique country, which also, takes this thing of the Pink Team with it. The Pink Team, they're struggling, or Madagascar, they're struggling, and they knew they were just bad to give that thing up, because they were trying to fight for its independence anyway. But let's continue seeing how they're going to divide their country up. And at the end of it, this is how they divide themselves up. They break into 3 separate countries, who will all be independent and sovereign. They're not done here, though. Because they're going to cede some land to South Africa. Now, why? Well, it's because South Africa is kind of... I don't know how to explain them. Anyway, this thing's now broke apart. This was a very peaceful breakup. Nobody was hostile in it. But I can't say the same for these 3 up here. Oh yeah, by the way, at this point, the economic depression's basically over. The stock markets have been restored in Korea and also the Pink Team. So the world is out of its second Great Depression and is heading towards, honestly, an economic growth. Korea is beginning to become a very powerful country. They actually might be above the Pink Team at this rate. As Korea and China, Korea and China are both kind of working together to kind of make a new economic system. The Pink Team is not in support of this. They're making their own economic system, which we definitely see beginning like a Cold War between the two. Wink, wink. Anyway, this border war, yeah, this is horrendous. Again, this was up to Morocco to divide up, but because of the Europeans, this just got all messed up. But it's actually going to lead into a war. See, when this was divided up, the blue team claimed that they owned this piece of land, and the red team claimed that they owned a chunk of land down here. And these two decided that it's time to get those pieces of land they owned, but didn't get, from the yellow team. So blue team troops immediately move into the yellow team, surprising them somehow. And they begin moving up into this area up here, which is very open arms. The people there are in great support of joining the blue team, and we just see this entire area just break away from the yellow team. Same can be said for the red team's land as, well, these people are less in support of wanting to be part of the red team, so we don't see much happening here. In fact, the red team stops, because, yeah, the people here just don't want to join them. However, for the blue team, they will now begin their invasion over to the yellow team's capital. The yellow team, at this point, is collapsing. The government fails, they can't even get an army out. So, once the blue team marches into their capital, they just completely and utterly collapse. And the red team is really mad. The blue team just won this war, even though they were the strongest of the three. Let's take a look at how these guys divide up the yellow team. So taking a look at this peace treaty, we can see that the blue team is getting a ton of land. The red team will annex this tiny piece of land by here, not getting coastal access, which is kind of their goal. The blue team, on the other hand, is going to be in for a treat. They'll be annexing this coastal area, this province, and this huge area up here, giving them a ton of new land resources, and they honestly become the strongest country in this region. Not including Morocco, like West Africa, this region. Anyway, we're gonna head over to Russia, because, they're going through a bit of a tough time. They just united, and obviously, somebody uses different currency than them, the orange team. And that's kind of having a side effect. And we see this in a president election for the new country. Now, radical ideology is not something you would exactly see at this point. A lot of countries are even monarchy or democrat, or rarely you'll see a dictatorship. Like, for example, the red team was a dictatorship. The lime team is a dictatorship, but they're going more towards democratic. The pink team is a democracy. Korea is a democracy. China is a dictatorship. These two are democracies. And then, who else? Who else is a major country? Morocco is a full-on democracy. They are the most democratic country in the world. The chocolate team is the democracy, and the cyan team is democracy. Russia is trying to be a democracy, but their people the people sort of are in support of another president. Now, who's this other president? This president is a dictator. And he is gonna put in some not so good stuff into these people's heads. Propaganda. And, the guy who is gonna make Russia a better country doesn't win. The dictator wins. Because of the propaganda. And almost immediately, he begins to rapidly improve the economy and army of Russia, which people definitely feel the effects of. Honestly, they think it's a good effect. But, once Russian troops start lining up on the border of Poland, people are like, hold on, what? And almost immediately, the Central Asian Union is like, whoa, what are you doing? You should not be doing that. And, by the time they already tell Russia to stop, it's too late. Russian troops were entering into Poland. Poland is still recovering from World War II. And, it's not just Russia jumping them, because somebody wants some historic land back. The cyan team will join the war to regain some historic land. I just realised, this was planned, but I just realised what this is like. Poland is getting jumped on two sides again. Even in the Civilization series, they're not safe. The Polish army, with like no morale from World War II, and especially they're not even top 10. They were top 10, but they're not top 10 anymore. Russia has great morale in their army, and Science Team doesn't really. So we see Russia marching through the Polish team. I say eventually we'll reach down to this yellow team, and we'll make a strike for the capital, which will be successful, cutting off whatever armies over here. And we will see the complete capitulation of the Polish team, not text. Let's take a look at this peace treaty. So in the peace treaty, we see Russia will annex a bunch of land from Poland. And this is not a new country. This is actually a puppet of Russia. We will now signify puppets by a lighter version of the country by the country's colour. So for the Lion team, it'll be a lighter version of the lime colour. So just remember, this is not a country. This is a puppet state of Russia. The Science Team will annex not all the historic land, but they annex some land, so they're not mad. But we're gonna mention an alliance, because, well, the blue team didn't help Poland. Now, the people in the blue team are like, why didn't you help our ally? And, well, first off, you don't even board a Science Team. But the blue team, they're one of the few countries in World War II who are on the losing side, who didn't actually get affected. Sure, their economy was affected, but they simply didn't just want, they just didn't want to help Poland. The leader is the same leader from World War II. He is scarred after what happened to his country and what happened to his allies, and he didn't want to repeat. Especially if Morocco were to join the war. This does not put a good face on the leader of the blue team, and it leads to internal issues. But we'll have to see how it goes for the blue team, because the people in this country are now very upset that he didn't help, well, he didn't help his ally. He didn't help his ally that he helped in World War II. Anyway, now we're going to move over to China, because they're yet again expanding. Now, Korea isn't exactly, they don't know what to do with China's expansion. Like, they don't really care, but also they do care, because China's invading countries who haven't done anything wrong. But this is kind of a major deal, what China's about to do. They're gonna declare war on Vietnam. And, Korea's gonna say, hold on. That's actually a pretty important country. They're actually a pretty good power. Why are you invading them? China's a dictatorship, if I think I said they are. They don't care. And Vietnam is they will definitely fight back. So Vietnam will be shocked from the invasion from China, but the Vietnamese army will immediately mobilize and will begin pushing back China to try and make a defensive front. And this will actually go well until somebody joins the war who wants revenge. I don't know if you remember, but this yellow team, it was either this yellow team or somebody else who got invaded by Vietnam. They want revenge. And this revenge is what they are wanting for what they've wanted for ages. They will invade their historic land, which used to be in Thailand, and will begin retaking it from the Vietnamese team. With a double front, the Vietnamese team will have to pull back troops from this front over here in China, who is a top 10 power, and this just leads to this happening. At this point, the Chinese Navy is now making its appearance over here, and Vietnam is like, oh shoot, we just lost our capital. This shows the power of the new Chinese country. And Vietnam will surrender to try and save as much land as they possibly can. So let's take a look at the peace treaty of Vietnam. In the peace treaty, we see Vietnam gets kicked back down to this area of the land. And we see that China will annex a bunch of land down to here, and this is going to help that country a ton. And, well, the country that was invaded by Vietnam ages ago, will take back, I think, more than their historic land, but hey, they got their historic land back, they're happy. Anyway, the final event of this video will be a new country being formed. The Australian Red Team will make an agreement with the people of New Zealand, well, not actually called New Zealand, but they make an agreement with the people of New Zealand who have been kind of calling for independence. They will agree to release them. And we see the release of New Zealand, who will probably be forgotten later on in this series. I know what colour I want them to be. They're going to be a brown colour. So, we see the release of New Zealand, and this was a very peaceful split, probably the most peaceful split there's ever been in this series. And that will be it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.